Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to Pro Cycling Manager 2020, Career Mode, episode 128. Following our monumental victory of the Tour de France, it's still hard to fathom that we pulled that off. I knew we were going to be competitive, and I thought maybe podium. I knew we had a good rider on our hands with Pavel Rodriguez, and at a 79, he's just about there. Close enough to be competitive, but jumping to second place in the world rankings for him is a real testament to what a season he has had and how far he has come in 1.5 years with the team, or just a little over 1.5 years anyway. I guess we're coming up on 3/4 of a year behind us. And actually, a lot of things are on the verge of happening. It's hard to believe, but it's the 25th of July. We're a few days away from signing our sponsorship deal for next season, for going after our signings for the team for next season. Right now we've got the Ciclista San Sebastian. That's exciting. But also our financial situation was not good. It wasn't desperate. We were going to make it through this season, but we were steadily losing money. We had a little over 400,000. We were down to just over 200,000, and we just got 628,000 in earnings from winning the Tour de France. Finances, no longer a concern of any kind. We're good to go there. Now we've got to focus on what's ahead of us. Well, in terms of the racing, there's nothing left to worry about for the season. We're done. We've got our 100% evaluation in the books. Signing period is right around the corner. So all of that's going to take place. And part of me is like, okay, I got one foot out the door. We're headed for next season. And thinking about next season. And yeah, okay, one foot is definitely headed in that direction. But one foot's still planted into our first competitive World Tour season. You know, the previous one was mostly survival with a few shock wins.
Greetings to all.
We're competitive here. It's nice. It's
route,
fun.
So it will be
oh
a
my goodness. It's
race.
nice to be in this situation and not have the constant stress of survival. And speaking of, there were quite a few comments, and thank you for the recognition of a job well done in getting the result that we got, and Rodriguez earning the result that he earned. That was great. That was fantastic, and very happy to have that. There was also questions about what's coming for La Vuelta, and suggestions, and they are good suggestions, and there is absolutely nothing wrong, and I actually agree with everyone who made suggestions. But here's the thing about what's coming up for us for La Vuelta. I'm not sure if we'll get to it in this episode or not. I'm kind of guessing we won't. We'll get to it at the start of the next episode. This episode, depending on the timing, I think we're looking at, well, this race and our contract signing, and maybe we're looking at riders for this season, for next season, within this episode, that is. I'm not sure how much further we might be able to get beyond there. There are a handful of races between now and La Vuelta, but again, one foot out the door. What in there is something that I would want to focus on? I don't know. There are some races, some World Tour races after this one that are worth focusing on, but they're going on the same time that La Vuelta is going on. And some of the riders that I'm taking to La Vuelta are the ones that I would want to be in those races, so then you're kind of ruling out some of those. Anyway, here's my plan for La Vuelta. We had sponsor objectives for high GC finishes in both races. We pulled off what we needed, and we even won the Tour de France. Now, Pavel Rodriguez is not focused on La Vuelta as his later objective for the year, and I decided when I first started planning this season out that since La Vuelta is not an objective, and it's after the signing period, even if it were an objective, that I'm perfectly happy and perfectly content with a little bit of morale management, and in that, as well as some schedule management, Rodriguez already has over 80 days of racing this season. I'm not going to suddenly shut him down, but I'm also not going to immediately throw him up over 100. And there are some riders who tend to race one day at a time. And there's a lot of red out here, isn't there? Let's see. There's a lot of riders, including Denny Ginn, who could lead that thing, and we could see what they could do. But there's enough of a jam pack to the schedule. I mean, we just did, what was it, 6, 7 episodes to cover the Tour de France, and 5 or 6 episodes to cover the Giro before that, about 6. So, you know, that's 12, 13 episodes right there. And at roughly 4 per week, we're now at 3.5 technically, but that just happened. At roughly 4 per week, that took a while to get through those couple of races. It's made this season much longer than some of the previous seasons, and I do like moving things along. Now, of course, we are World Tour now, and we are fairly competitive at the World Tour. We're not winning everything yet. We're not dominating. This isn't the year to go for a Triple Crown. It's too late for that anyway, but theoretically, you know, we were the last team into the World Tour. When we get to a mid-tier World Tour team, I think we can really push on and try to go for everything and be the underdog who surprised everybody. A season ago, it's DSM now, but that was Sunweb, who surprised a lot of teams. A few years back, that was Decathlon Quickstep, who almost out of nowhere became a powerhouse. We're kind of doing that right now anyway, but not to that scale of being right at the top. Yes, we got the 1 win. Anyway, point being, I want to give a different set of riders a chance to get some experience. I also want to have a different experience on camera than what I had in those 2 previous races. I don't want the same thing over and over and over and over again. I want some variety. So we're going to get some variety, and what that means is I'm going to try and go for the sprint jersey. I'm going to take all of my sprinters to that race. I'm going to take a few punchers with them. I'm going to take a couple of guys who don't have much business being in a World Tour at this point and give them a chance to ride. And we're going to bypass and quick sim lots of stages, not worry about the GC in any way, shape, or form, not even worry about winning stages necessarily, just going for the sprint, doing whatever we can with that. So, different experience, just because we are at a point where we're due for a different experience. Also, that few seasons ago when we were in the World Tour, we desperately went for a sprint jersey and came up short. We second or third. And then we got the shock victory with Kevin Vermark at the Champs-Élysées to survive the objective. And I'm way too late here on getting this water. I was supposed to do that on the descent, but I distracted myself. Whatever, it's fine. It's not like we're pushing much tempo, and even if a few guys end up going back to get water, it's all good. All right, so that's the plan. Doing a little something different. It's not the optimal plan. It's definitely not putting our front foot forward, but it's putting a foot forward, and it's going for it and doing something. And let's see if we have improved our sprint enough, because we're nowhere near the top sprinters. But can we pull off the upset on that? Can we compete for the jersey? Does it have to come from a breakaway every stage going after intermediate sprints? Or can we actually be competitive enough in the sprints themselves to be able to quick sim quite a few stages? That's the goal. That's what I'm hoping for anyway, because I certainly don't want to go through every single stage. And if we were kind of forced into that, I think I'd rather concede the jersey than just desperately push. So we'll do some of the breakaway riding, but definitely not much of it. Pace, tempo was definitely hurting us, but we upped that pace. We upped our tempo to recover a bit, and with 90k to go, we are definitely drifting towards the back of the group here, but we're not out the back, and the guys around us seem to be likewise doing enough. Nobody's fading. Drop. It was Smith. Smith broke the link. Actually, it's Kevin Vermark who broke the link. Our two punchers. Smith was working for Vermark not to keep that gap. I think we're okay on these guys recovering and getting back in contact, but that is going to put us in a less than ideal position going forward, as we're about to hit another climb before too long. I'd like to bring water for the whole squad, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen here.
We're into the
Might
last
just be
third of the
getting
race.
these four at the moment.
We'll soon know the final outcome. Some team managers mustn't appreciate the fact that there is
Still
a
off the back,
given that
these
the pack
guys.
has increased its speed.
Definitely going to have to up tempo because you can't afford to go back again, as you will never regain contact
The
if we do
riders are
that.
going through a very tough portion with percentages above 10%.
There we go, back in contact. Hopefully they'll find their way forward a little bit. Jorgensen nearly done here. Meanwhile, Rodriguez is just riding comfortably at the front. He just had an 83. His strength and climbing showing at the moment. Jorgensen loses contact. Actually blocks for Mark. Nearly costs for Mark a position. Okay, Eric Butt. Unlike for Mark, going the wrong way. And Wykankis caught behind somebody here. I am blinking red anyway, but caught behind a slow AG2R rider. And he's about to lose contact. And actually, there was another split again. There's time for this to come back together. It's not too worrying. In fact, there's... Oh, I thought we had contact, but no. Not just yet. Going over the top, though. Pretty sure this group, at the least, will make it back. Eric Butt's group probably will make it back. There we go. That group back intact. 4 riders now in the peloton. That's all we have there. Eric Butt doing the hard work. Nobody really helping him.
There's reports
We
of a
need to
group of
regain
riders
contact
taking a
soon.
tumble, but apparently they all managed to set off again.
Nearly
Look,
there.
The pack has
Nearly
taken its
there.
foot off the gas. The team leaders can't be too worried about the
There we go.
breakaway.
Somebody else stepping up. Okay, water. Butter. Rodriguez, Tour de France champion, getting water for his team. And Eric Butt, they look like they might be losing contact here. Let's set him to auto for now. Put our attention back where it belongs at the front.
The breakaway is not to everybody's liking. The peloton has significantly increased its speed.
There he is, chasing to try to get back on. Pretty much single-handedly. I sent Wykankis quite a while ago, and he's still just cruising at the back of the group. Tons of space on the road, and yet he was making no concerted effort to actually go forward. And now we're hitting that next climb, and he's still wasting energy trying to come forward. There we go.
Breaking up. This climb is feared by many riders. The percentages are very high. The pack has just reeled in the escape group.
Breakaway's done. 107 in the peloton. Eric Butt not making contact and out of energy, so he's done. Smith also. Goodbye, Mr. Smith. And now we have just 36 at the front, as that group, including Smith, large group, is dropped. Gap's close. Close enough that they regain contact. In fact, Smith is already recovered a bit. And we're coming up on the final climb, just like that. 18K to go. Things up here fairly soon. We're in that nice optimal position near the front. There we go. Let's do it. Not a Rodriguez day. This is a puncher's day. Resistance is not good for any of those three today. Ouch. Maybe it is a Rodriguez type day. He's just stronger than they are, and especially with the race day condition. Kind of want to go for Wykinkis, but he's not that great of a climber, so he's going to struggle. This hurts our chances of winning. Just having Wykinkis is good, but not good enough. For Mark, could be great. He could be a favorite, but he's on a -4. And Rodriguez, who maybe in a pinch could step up to the plate, it's a -3 overall. So we're kind of stuck with a single rider who is not quite good enough. Coming up to the base. This right-hander is where it really ramps up.
The finish line is getting close. The riders just passed the 10 kilometers road sign. The riders are in a portion above 10%.
First tough stretch, and then it really takes off from there. $9K to go. On to Wykinkis. Oh, come on. Give you orders and you don't follow them. Rodriguez getting dropped here by Wykinkis. They're coming up over the top right now, and there's still no split. Can we get separation? 21 riders now. Okay, Rodriguez, can you recover and follow? Rodriguez, Wykinkis is a better sprinter. Why don't we swap you guys? So, you know what, we don't need to attack right now. Not on this descent. 6K to go. 20 in the group.
The finish line is getting close. The riders just passed the 5 kilometers road sign.
Okay, 4.6. Now we're going to start scooting forward. Somebody's attacking off the front, and it's not... I'm not getting any sort of response. Okay, they sat up. Rodriguez coming to the front. 2.6, 2K. Okay, he's going to start his attack. Hopefully he does enough damage behind us to the followers that then gives Wykinkis a chance. No. It's not quite there. Mataway for the win. Hershey, Alaphilippe, the guys you would expect. Yershoff, Schachman, Bernal, Simmons, Simons. Wykinkis, 8th is good. Rodriguez, 16th. Not so good, but we get a top 10 anyway. Again, I think for Mark, on a +4 today, probably would have won it. Especially because he still would have been there, and we would have had Wykinkis and Rodriguez to lead him out. Which would have been a far better scenario than what we ended up in. Close, not close enough. So we hit the 31st of July, and it's the sponsor signing period while Construct. Here's the thing about them. One, they have a limited max. They're offering $133,000 per month, which is a huge improvement for where this team has been in recent seasons, but it's still small. And the estimation max at $230, even to the high end, is still pretty small. Also, what they're looking for is Belgian riders, which we have none. Now, there's plenty of Belgian riders out there, and I am targeting some classics riders, which means there's a good chance that I could find a Belgian rider to sign, or 2 or 3, but they have double importance with 2 different regions. There's no guarantee we're going to get what we want from that, and again, limitations. And also, their sponsor objectives, well, they're catered around those desires of the team, which is, you know, the Belgian races, the classics that we are weakest in. So looking at the other 2 options, well, neither of them are great. A Slovenian or a Portuguese. We do have, of course, Alves Machado, a Portuguese rider, and that one does have the highest current budget, but it's really not much better than Wall Construct. And we only have the 1 rider, and what other Portuguese rider am I going to go out and find? There might be a couple of options. And it's not terrible, but it's not really a great move for the finances. Now, the Slovenian one, mixed bag. I don't have any Slovenian riders. I don't think I targeted, scouting-wise, any Slovenian riders, so I'm going to have the same problem that I have with at least 2 of the 3 and 2.5, really, of the 3 teams that are there. It's a problem wherever I go. Their budget, smallest currently, but their ceiling is much, much higher, which means we're set up for next season to see a significantly larger jump. I mean, their ceiling is 80,000 higher than Wall Construct. So we're looking at probably a full season difference in financial gain if we go with them, which will cost me 3,000 technically, because the Moto Engil is not my sponsor anyway. It's Wall Construct. So I'm losing 3,000 from what I would have gained to ultimately gain another 20 or 30,000 a year from now, right off the bat. It might be another one and done kind of deal, and I'm not happy. I would love to get a sponsor that I can just stick with and be happy with and grow with, but it's the nature of what we have. We started with nothing, and we've gone from these little itty-bitty sponsors into we're finally getting some respectable money offered to us. So at least we have that. We'll have to keep an eye out, see if we can find a Slovenian rider. But that's it. We have a new sponsor, we have a new look, and we change again for next season. I think the absolute best sign of the progress that we have made as a team is our starting index as we open the transfer market on August the 1st. Surprisingly, there are 6 teams with 4.5 stars. That's crazy, because in a normal playthrough, it's generally 2. And that's already, that's already signed for next season riders. We are just ahead of multiple teams. There's quite a few 4-star teams, but we're right at the top of that list. We're already on the verge of being a 4.5-star team ourselves. 77 points on the index. We're in a much better place than we were a season ago. I think we should be fairly secure in our position, but we'll see. This is where that process begins. What we have coming back: Rodriguez, Wykankis, Gazzoli are our top 3 right now. Vermark is the expiring contract of the top 3 that bumps Gazzoli back up into that list. Rajkovic, Millar also closely behind, all signed up for next season. Moreau, Amanatoglu, Moreno, Alves, Machado, German, and Mishik Smith remain signed up for next season. That's quite a few expiring contracts. So we've got to navigate who we want to bring back of those expiring contracts. We need to navigate who to sign, and I'm not convinced that we're probably secure, but I'm not 100% convinced that we're an automatic with Rodriguez, Wykankis, Gazzoli. I do think we still need one more returning team leader, whether it's for Mark or somebody new that's a 77 plus. I don't know, but a 77 plus I do think is going to be necessary to secure our position in the World Tour. And we do have some choices ahead of us. We have 60 transfer points. For Mark, Ginn, Johnson are the ones that I was looking to retain. There are some other guys, I think, within our roster that we might want to retain that already have the 100% interest. So there are some options. Also, it's not just the list that's here, because we can see riders like Mark Hershey. He's still just 27. Want to sign with us. Sivakov wants to sign with us. Carapaz wants to sign with us. So we have built enough of a profile now as a World Tour team that there definitely is some interest out there. So plenty of interest, plenty of good riders. Banijek wants to come back. Not that I necessarily want to sign him, but he's there. He's still a 76. He left us at a 76. He was part of the trio that got us into the World Tour a few seasons back, and he has not changed since then, and he has not been useful, and somehow he's on Team Ineos. But there was our guy. First thing first is a money check. Until we really get to a position where we're making good money, we have to kind of just go and keep going right towards that limit and spending everything we've got. So looking at those who are still signed up for next season on the team, we have $68,600 is our salary. Our new capacity is going to be 130, so that leaves us with $61,400, meaning we're barely spending a little over half of what we have for next season. Of course, you can look right off the bat. Vermark and Ginn alone free up over $20,000 in cash. And the rest are making just about bare minimum. But we do need to look at those guys and see who we want to bring back. Now, Vermark, I think it's going to depend largely on money and our other options we go after for a leader. Because like I said, with Rodriguez, Wykankis, and then the drop to Gazzoli, I want to have one more rider that's in that at least a 77 plus, probably 78 plus, to secure our position in the World Tour. So Vermark does count. Vermark does want to resign. Vermark probably wouldn't be a whole lot more expensive than he is now. I'd say maybe double, 30,000. That uses a lot of the money we have available, though, just for Vermark, who hasn't done a whole lot the last few seasons. He's been good, but Rodriguez has done way more for us than Vermark. So there might be some better options. Plus, at 25, he's already pretty close to being fully developed now. Of course, he's a 78. He is a good rider. He is quite punchy. But more often than not, he is less than ideal. Ginn would be a great one to hang on to, even though he doesn't have a ton of potential, if he's cheap, if he's affordable. So that could be a good starting point. Same with Carlos de Mello, who is very, very high in potential and only 22 and still has developed rapidly, but definitely still has a good ways to go in that development and is kind of a secondary stage racer and really is probably on the verge of outclassing Denny Ginn quite soon. Certainly much, much higher potential. So he, I think, needs to be the first target we go after, because there's no reason at a 74 that he's going to be looking for a whole lot of money. So let's go ahead and begin our renewal process with him. 1 point. Might not be minimal, but should be quite cheap. Ooh, 8,000. That's more than I expected. That is definitely more than I expected. But again, the potential. I mean, we're looking at a rider who is... No, I don't want you as an absolute sprinter. Can we try important rider? And can we try a little bit less in the money? Okay, the roll's good, the money's not. We have a few chances. Let's see what happens when we go to what he actually asked for. Still not happy with the money, and I'm not happy with what he's asking. I think we might have to put him on the back burner and kind of wait. And unlike the others, he's not pushing for a big wad of cash. Same problem for Jorgensen. Not good enough in any way, shape, or form, but should be able to resign for a minimum. Has potential. He'll still grow some, and we'll be able to support another rider. And actually is willing to sign on for a minimum amount of money, which for us is going to be very, very handy. Hopefully we can get this deal done at this level. Not quite, but 3,000 is not bad. Johnson's another one who's already nearing his peak, doesn't have the greatest potential, but unlike a couple of the guys he's not asking for a lot of money. For me, I'm happy to keep a support climber like this, even if it means losing one or two decent guys, so that we could put our money where our mouth is and get some riders into the team that are going to be the impact guys and then be supported by somebody maybe a little less well off. David Killen, another one that we should be able to get our hands on pretty cheap and re-signed. Good potential. While he might be a 72, the money's going to make a real difference unless he does not like the jump, in which case we might be letting him go. I'm not sure I want to spend. But then again, we're talking about a 73 Mountain versus somebody else who's a 75 or a 76 or a 74 wanting 15,000. So I think I can just about get away with 38. I think I'd rather spend the 4,000 or 5,000 on one of those better guys than keeping David Killen around. But he's still got the potential. He's still only 23, and with that growth, should be able to replace those guys and be about where they're at now next season, and we'll have him for roughly 3 years. But's an obvious one to get after. For some reason, his interest has dropped a little bit. I'm guessing we are going to have to pay him a little bit more, but we should be able to get him signed relatively cheap and as one of our top punchers, and especially if we end up letting Vermark go, he'll take over as our top puncher unless we have a replacement to sign. All right, with most of the expiring contracts dealt with on the team, we have 3 riders left out of contract. Carlos de Mello, who's looking for about 9,000 plus. We have Danny Ginn, who's looking for about 14,000 plus. We have Kevin Vermark, who was making 16,000, has improved by a few points from there, so he's probably looking for minimum 30,000 plus, more likely 40 or even 50,000. What we have left in money at this point is 43,900. So we've got roughly 44,000 to play with in order to sign somebody. Now, a couple things got to happen. One, I accidentally let all of our staff members' contracts expire last season, and so I had to sign new guys January 1st, and that put them all automatically on contracts for next season. As a result, that meant all of their salaries counted. I have fired most of them, and I'll have to hire a new set to replace those guys. But what I can't do, at least right now on the 1st of August, is fire the 2 doctors. The 2 doctors are both in the middle of races. One of them will be freed up in about a day or two. The other one will not be freed up for about a week, as he's at the Tour of Portugal. So once those 2 guys are freed up, then I'll be able to fire the both of them, totally wipe the slate clean of staff salaries counting, giving us full access to that 43,000. Then we'll be able to go after somebody. Now, 43,000, Bridensholt, Fenn, there's about a 1% chance that either of them is going to be asking for less than 43,000. Luis Saceda, a 79 overall, probably going to be asking for 40,000 plus. Could be close. Maybe we could sign him, but because of the interest level, probably not likely, in all honesty. Same problem. A 79 with 60% interest. We'd be pushing our luck on that being less than 40,000. Probably not so good there either. Which means all of a sudden, here we are, Kevin Vermark. It's 6 points to see what it would cost us. And we might do that just to see. And then DeGlass, only 70% interest. But as a 78, maybe DeGlass is somebody we could get after. 23-year-old, he's young, 80 cobble rating, 80 stamina, 78 resistance is exactly what we want. Cost me 9 points to see if we can get him under that range. Right now, at least at that list, I'd say that's my top target. He's a 78. He's the classics rider that we are lacking, but I'm worried we wouldn't be able to sign him for within what he wants and what we can afford. Hershey, Sivakov, Carapaz, they're going to look for 60, 70, 80,000, 100,000. So that's not happening. And then all of a sudden we're looking at a 76 in Banijek or Toynes or Stamati. I don't know if we're going to get our 78 or more. So at this point, I'm thinking beginning of the next episode, I will begin with DeGlass and see where he's at, see if we can get him, and then probably spend the points on for Mark just to see what kind of money we're talking about and whether it's even possible to bring him back. And then we're going to break down the other options. We have some 76s, Stamati. We have Van Veenendaal, who did get to 100%, so very well could be a target for us. It's a 76, it's not a 77, but maybe he comes in decimal point-wise higher than where we're at with Gazzoli. Gazzoli should be leveling up fairly soon. I know he's older, and so leveling up, it's a while in between levels, but he hasn't leveled up since he joined us. And that was during the signing period, not January. That was, back in September or October when that happened. Hader, 75, and less than 100% interest is probably out. We do have some probably cheaper options of young riders who are interested, that if we save some money, we could get after those guys. We could bring back a Carlos de Mello, but Batagic, Illich, young sprinters, 20 and 21 on already 74s. That could be something to go after. So we're going to push forward a little bit, and then we're going to have a go at these guys. But let me know in the comments, who do you think I should be going for among that group? Random other targets are probably not going to be great for us because either A, they're not good enough, or B, their interest isn't going to be high enough. We see who has the high interest. We see what our options are, primarily from this list. I don't necessarily think there's anywhere else to go effectively and get after a rider. That's going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to hit that like button, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.